What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a brand new project series, event series, build series, all because this year I'm planning to attend the 2020 SORRCA Scale Nationals. It will be in Las Vegas this year and title sponsored by RC 4-Wheel Drive. Now, Scale Nationals is an event that happens every year and it uses the SORRCA scale rules. Now, maybe you've heard of SORRCA, maybe you haven't, but basically what it is a set of rules that's been put together to try and establish a number of classes for different styles and sizes of vehicles, and then allows you some handicap type points or bonus points for certain types of scale features or accessories that you can add to your truck to try and equalize out something that's built with a lot of scale in mind versus something that is maybe more towards the performance side. Now, the event itself is at Logandale, which is just outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's going to be on March 20th through the 22nd. There are three classes of the traditional course style competition crawling, and that's classes 1, 2, and 3. Class 1 is a vehicle similar to like what you see here, which we'll go over, but it's a smaller tire, 4.19 or less. And then there's a number of things that you need to do like tire coverage and bumper widths. A lot of little details that go into the rules. Class 2 is something a little bit more aggressive. It allows you to use up to a 4.75 inch tall tire. Doesn't require as much tire coverage by the body. Doesn't require as wide of bumpers, for example, as well. And then again, a lot of other small details. And finally, there's Class 3, and these are kind of almost a full-blown competition style off-road buggy. Those allow a much taller tire. Oftentimes people are using 2.2s. There is no rule on tire coverage, but there is some rules based on how wide the inside of the tires are versus the widest portion of the chassis. But if you're seriously interested in getting into this style, then downloading the rules, which I'll link in the description below, you can jump on there and really get into it and see how things stack up. There are some vehicles you could get that will absolutely drop right into a class that you could compete with. However, they may not be the most competitive in that class. There's possibly certain things you could do to really give yourself an advantage by narrowing bumpers up or things along those lines. And then along with the typical cone dodging that you can do at the event, you also have the option of doing the King of Logandale, which is a gated timed run type event. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to run that one, but it's a much more fast-paced, high action type event. They're running 1.9 and 2.2 classes in that event specifically. Now, tickets are already on sale for this event. Class 2 is the most popular class and it's sold out very quickly. But Class 1 and Class 3 are still available, as well as the King of Logandale. And as an added bonus or something to annoy all of you by, myself and Matt from the SBG will be emceeing the event. Mainly that means that we'll be on the mics at the, raffle and award ceremonies, things like that. Definitely looking forward to that. I've emceed at the Scale Nationals a few times in the past. It was always a good time, but I think it's going to be an even better time this year now that we've wrangled Matt into joining us down there. And speaking of Matt, now, he and I don't have a monthly mayhem challenge going on right now or anything head to head. And kind of that's because that both of us are going to attend this event and both of us plan to compete in all three classes. So we both have a lot of prep to do, and we're going to actually kind of end up going head to head when we get to the event. So while we don't have a scheduled series that you're going to see every Wednesday, right now, both of us are going to be cranking on our trucks, trying to get these things ready to go. And when I say cranking on our trucks, for me, that's kind of an imaginary statement because this is the only truck that I currently have that is in any sort of path to completion for this event. The event happens in 89 days from the date of this filming. And with the holidays coming up for me, once I actually return and get time to actually work on these, I'll only have 74 days until the event. Now that is not a lot of time to build 3 complete trucks. All of my trucks planned at this point are going to be completely new vehicles. This is the start of my Class 1, which is on a VS410 chassis and an RC 4-Wheel Drive 4Runner hardbody, and we'll go over this one in detail in a minute here. My Class 2 is also going to be a VS410 base, probably going to use a kit for that one, but not something I've been able to get started on yet. So that one is going to come. I am going to change out the body for something narrower and more competitive in that area specifically, but it hasn't been started at all at this point. So that's something that's just a basic idea that I've got and nothing else worked out. And then my class 3 is complete imagination at this point, other than the fact that I want to build a tube chassis around a VFD transmission. That one is definitely the most lofty goal I have, because building a full tube chassis takes a lot of work, and with only 74 days from start to finish to build 3 complete trucks with all of the scale details and all of that stuff we're gonna need, that's a significant amount of effort. My class 3, like I said, will probably be using that VFD transmission and most likely the Capra portals from Vanquish that we'll be releasing here before too long. So definitely the place I plan to spotlight those. There is a chance that I'll be using a UC Fab CDI, which is a Capra drop-in chassis styled after a moon buggy. Kyle from UC Fab is building me one of those, but I'm not sure if that's what I'm going to use for the event yet or not. Still a little bit up in the air. But jumping into the details of the 4Runner that you see here. Now, if you follow my social media, you'll probably have seen that I've been working on this for a little while, just slowly here and there, kind of playing around with some things. What this is underneath a VS410 chassis, just a complete VS410 chassis kit. That's the separate kit version. And what I've done from there is simply designed up some sliders to be able to mount the body to in a very simple way. And then after I got the body fit on there, I did need to shorten the rear wheelbase on this considerably, as this body runs something closer to like an 11.5-inch wheelbase compared to the 12.3 that the normal link set that you would run on this is supposed to use. Now, I have made a number of modifications to the body at this point already. The SORRCA rules allow you to bob the bed of a truck, and I'm kind of taking that as to mean that, like, you know, this is kind of a truck now, even though I can put this thing back on it. So what I did is I took 30 millimeters out of the rear portion of this body behind the wheels before the tailgate. I sectioned it and then just brought it all together. It was a pretty easy modification, even for somebody as new to working with hard bodies as I am. I'm not somebody to go to for instructional videos on styrene work, but I can kind of hack my way through things. Now, being that I took all of that distance out of the rear bed, I also needed to do that to the top if I ever planned on running it. So I took that distance out of there, but rather than taking it out of this rear section, I took it out of the front portion. Kind of ends up making it look more like a sidekick or a geo tracker, but I think it still looks pretty decent. And like I showed, you know, the rear cap is removable completely, which is most likely the way I'm going to run this when I'm in competition. I'll definitely keep this thing around. I'll finish it like the rest of the body and be able to pop it on and off. But when I'm actually going to go compete with this truck, most likely going to leave this onto the bench. Now, I am running the Proline KM3 tires on here. These are a 4.19-inch tire, which is the maximum height allowed in the Class 1 rules. I have not ran these tires yet, but a lot of people have, and I think they've had pretty decent luck with them. I've ran the 4.19 Proline Hyrax before, and I liked those, but I wanted to go with something a little bit more realistic styled for this build. Now, by the rules, you do need to have half of the tire tread covered by the body. Currently, I've got a 350 hub on some Method 101 V2 wheels on this truck, and I'm really close to that. I am going to drop down to a 225 hub front and rear just to make sure it gets sucked in there, and then I should be absolutely fine with tire coverage. I am running the Vanquish D44 axles under this vehicle. These are the axles that came on the original VS410 Limited, and they're available separately. So that's what I dropped on. I like the style of those. I think it fits well with this style of body. I'm running the Incision shocks front and rear and a kit version of the Vanquish VFD transmission. Now, this RC4 Drive 4Runner body comes with a full interior setup: seats, dash, shifters, rear seat, a cage that's plastic, whole deal. Now, that VFD transmission is a super forward and low mounted setup, and it actually interfered with the interior slightly. So I decided to just section out a whole portion of the center of that interior to make sure that I could drop that in there, see where anything needed clearance, and then I'll just kind of piecemeal back a transmission tunnel and we'll be good to go. This is a truck that I definitely plan to run overdrive in. The Vanquish VFD transmission has an available 21% overdrive gear set that's available right now. So you can get those, drop that right into this transmission, and you'll have 21% overdrive to the front axle. A significant amount of overdrive, definitely going to help with those people who are really focused on performance for competition suspension type setups. If you wanted to increase that, you could run a set of overdrive gears in the front axle also, and that would really bump you up to a high overdrive number. Not sure if that is something that I want to do. I like 20%-ish. That's usually kind of the range that I like to have. So that 21% kit should be a great fit for this build. I do want to thank RC 4-Wheel Drive for this body. Now, they didn't give it to me directly, but what they did do is they donated it for the raffle at the ASD event this last summer, and I won it there. Nice little score, and I just had it sitting in the garage for a while, and then this event popped up, and I was, a perfect Class 1 opportunity. It's definitely a nice body with a ton of parts that I am not looking forward to painting in the slightest. That is the part that I'm just absolutely dreading the most. Gonna have to, sand and smooth the body work that I've done, and then actually do, paint work on the outside, and that's going to be a nightmare. But we'll do our best to try and get something somewhat respectable on this. Or I'm going to find somebody else to do it for me, because 74 days is not enough time to build 3 trucks. Now, earlier I touched a little bit on the accessories and things that you can add to a vehicle to help with the handicaps of building in a scale fashion. And SORRCA calls those scale points, or that's how they award things. And different items score different levels. For Class 1, at least, there's a total of 60 scale points available. If you had points that added up beyond that, they just wouldn't count. So normally, if you can just keep it within that range, you're in pretty decent shape. Since I'll be using this full hard body, I'm awarded 12 scale points, for example. The reason for that is that hard bodies like this are much heavier than just a thin Lexan body. They don't move out of the way like a Lexan body may also. So then they award you those scale points, which help try and counteract the scores or penalties that you may have on course for running something like this. What they do is they take those scale points that you have, say 60 scale points if you had the maximum, they divide that in half, so you would have 30 scale points, and then they deduct that from your score on each and every course that you start. So if you made it cleanly through all 10 gates and had a negative 20 score, then they would take off another 30 points, giving you a negative 50. In comp crawling, low score is what you're after. Likely you would incur penalties for things like rollovers or having to touch the vehicle, or for having to winch or use reverse. I've kind of outlined my plans for this truck to try and get the maximum amount of scale points. I will have an interior cage on this. I'll have metal rock sliders. Right now I've got some plastic 3D printed body mounts, as there is a difference in points in several categories for metal versus plastic. So in this case, like I said, I have some plans to add metal rock sliders to help get me those extra points. Then I'll have metal bumpers front and rear, an extra little stinger on the front, as that's another added point. Having a full interior with multiple rows of seats counts for additional points, as well as a full depth rear cargo area in an SUV adds more points. This vehicle will have a chassis mounted servo, as well as a functional transfer case. Adding accessories like a winch, headlights, taillights, D-rings, things that are both functional and non-functional have a class. And there's a certain amount of points you can get for each of those areas. So if you go through the rules and kind of look at everything and plan your attack out beforehand, I think you can be the most efficient as possible with reaching your goal. So I've spent plenty of time planning. What I need to do is spend some time executing though. I'm looking forward to getting out there and running some courses and really getting some good competition. Scale Nationals always brings out some of the best drivers. Scale Nationals is the pinnacle of scale events as far as the competition side. So it, of course, will bring out that caliber. Now, there's certain things that I just refuse to do to try and be as competitive as possible. I still want to build these trucks the way that I like to build trucks. So some of those things are going to just be a handicap, but in the end, they're going to be 3 trucks that I've got to put a significant amount of money into to complete. So I want them to be trucks that I'm going to enjoy. For example, I won't use flat rail chassis. I just can't stand flat rail chassis. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to deal with. It's something that is going to have its disadvantages as far as weight and complexity of a more advanced or scale style chassis. So my plan is for this series to just follow along. I'll show you the progress of the vehicles as I'm working on them. Most likely we're going to be jumping back and forth between one truck to another to starting the next, and then just keep flip-flopping back and forth to try and get all of these done before the event. Most likely that means that I'm going to go to this event with almost no testing on any of these vehicles though, which is never a good idea when you're really going to try and be competitive at something. But in the end, truly what I'm going to enjoy is the build itself more than the actual payoff. If there's anything you guys would like to see specifically in any of these builds, absolutely drop your suggestions below. We're at the point now where it's pretty much an open book as far as what we're actually going to do. My Class 2 truck, I am considering using the MST JP1 Jeep body. This thing's got kind of a unique look. I like it. It allows me to kind of push the limits a little further as far as clearances and things like that go. So I think that might be a direction that I go for Class 2, but it's still all up in the air at this point. Now's your time for suggestions. Get them in while you can. As always, guys, I appreciate all of you take the time to watch these videos. Hopefully I get to see some of you guys out at the SORRCA Scale Nationals in Vegas. But as always, hit the like button if you enjoy these videos. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.